Hello there and welcome back to another episode of Craft Therapy. We're working on our placemats, and what I'm going to be doing today is showing you how we're going to be joining the smaller motifs to the bigger placemat motif, and that would complete our placemat sets. So I'm very careful to ensure that the pattern that I'm using or the combination that I'm using is the same. So we have a yellow center, then green, then black. So I have the same here. And I'm going to be ending with the yellow thread. Alright, so to do this, we're going to be doing the same thing that we did with the edging for the bigger motif, where we just, you know what, let me move this. Hopefully you can see it a little bit better without that black on the background. And we are going to pull through, chain one, and then do a single crochet to anchor it. Alright? And we're going to do the same thing that we did on the bigger motif, which is chain one, single crochet into the space, and so on and so forth. I'm going to try and weave this long tail in as I go. I'm going to do one cluster and then show you how we're going to attach it. So we're at chain one, single crochet, when I weave the tails in, it makes it much easier for me to clean up when I get to the end of a project. I don't have to do so much cutting and weaving in. And what I don't like about the weaving in sometimes is the potential for it to come undone at some point. So I prefer to try as best as possible to weave them in, which is why sometimes I keep my tails as long as I do, so that I have enough wiggle room to work them. Nobody should be looking at the back anyway, right? But yeah. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. You know what would be very interesting is if someone who is watching this wants this piece when I'm finished with it. Because as I have been putting in the title of these videos, this project is for sale when it is completed, and I can break it into 2 sets of 6 or 3 sets of 4, depending on, you know, what persons might want. I can do that. I must also point out that my pieces are one of a kind, so once I make something, I don't revisit that design. I don't. I like to keep it unique and fresh. So it's not going to be a case where you might miss out on getting this one and you ask me to make another one for you. I don't like to repeat designs. Sorry. Oh, so I just jumped the gap. And I did the same thing that we did with the bigger motif, where when you got to the chain one, double crochet, chain one, we ignore the double crochet and we just chain one, and jump over. Now this is where we're going to pay some attention to counting as we go. We need to get to the 5th treble crochet. I'm hoping that you're seeing it, although I'm working with black, and I think outside is a little bit too bright. Yeah, it's going to be too bright if I move the curtain. So I'm really hoping that you're seeing it. Do I bring you in a little bit more? Maybe, yeah. Yeah. So let's keep going until we get to number 5. We're almost there. So 1, 2, 3. My unruly phone. Let's continue. Right, so we're at a single chain, so let's go single crochet, and we're now going to be heading to the 5th treble crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and to get to that 5th one now, we're going to be taking up our bigger piece. It doesn't matter which section we join it in. We turn the back side up and we find the 5th treble crochet over here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get our thread over here. Alright, let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The single chain that we have on top of it, we push it through, grab our thread and pull through in a slip stitch, and then we continue. Now we're going to be needing 2 of these to join to this, so we're not quite done with just the one joining. We continue. So we now go back. We're at a treble crochet, so we need a single chain on top of it. Alright, and then we go back to our single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and we keep going like that. We are now at our bridge. We single crochet on either side of the double crochet stitch, single crochet, chain 1, work our way back up, alright, that's a chain 1, so single crochet, chain 1, single, chain 1, and I'm counting now as I go because I need to get back to the 5th. So we're now back at the 5th one. We're about to go to the 5th one, and we're going to do the same thing where we find the other petal. Now listen, it's very time consuming, but we have to pay attention, because when I was doing the other one, I have seen places or seen cases where I skipped one and I had to go back and pull out, and trust me, it wasn't very often, but it takes some concentration when you get to this stage. And we do the same thing again. We find the top of the 5th one, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, push through, pull through for a slip stitch, chain 1, and we go back to our single crochet, chain 1. Let me just finish off this cluster so we can take a look at how it looks. Alright, almost done. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, back at our bridge, so single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Alright, let's take a look at this and see how we're looking. And that's how we're looking, right? So it's pretty simple. We simply use the same edging that we did, and we go single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1. When we get to the joining, when we get to the fifth or the middle of the motif or the border motif, we slip stitch into the top of the fifth on a side, and we come back out and chain one, single crochet, chain one, we go back to that, and we are joining all the time. We are joining two sides to one of these. Now here's what's going to happen. This is just the first one. For the others, we're going to be joining 4, and then I think for the last one we're going to end up joining 6. So we have to be very careful. Now what I like to do is, if you notice where I started, right? So where I started, inevitably I'm going to have this start point be on the inside of the work. So when I'm finished, I'm not going to have any tails hanging out here. So if I take this one now and I want to join it, I put it like this, and I would start my joining maybe here. Oh, you're not seeing. Let me bring you back into frame. I would start my work here and work my way in, join, join, come out, join, join, and come back around. So when I put on the other one, the same thing happens. I have my tail on the inside of the work. Now, here's what's going to happen though. When we get to the end, so let us say that we have, this is our first, this is our second to last, and this is going to be our last one. So we have 2 left to join here. What you're going to find happening is that we're going to have 6 that need to be joined, right? So it means that I would have to be very careful how I start the joining for this number 6. I'd have to be very careful how I start the joining for this number 6 one. Right? I'm just telling you, but I'm gonna bring you back when I'm actually doing it. But I'm just telling you a little bit of the method to the madness behind how we do these things. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that need to be joined. So I would maybe start, I would definitely have to then start somewhere up in here if I don't want my tail to show. So I'd start maybe up in here and join. So it means that right after I start, I'll be joining, work my way around, join, 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 and end up in here somewhere, right? Ideally, what you don't want is to have a tail hanging out on the end anywhere here on the actual border. But that's how I do it. Others can do it differently. If you are very skillful at weaving in, that's fine, not a problem there. So what I'm going to do is finish off this one, not on camera. I'm not going to hold you hostage. I'm going to finish off this one and then bring you back when I'm putting on the second one to show you how we do the 2 and 2, and then ultimately bring you back when I'm putting on the last one to show you how we do the 6 joining. Alright, so see you in a little bit. Okay, so we have put on the second one. I want to point out that you want to make sure that you're counting as you go. So you're joining this and then this. So you have that one as a space first before you get to joining it. So I am now at the stage of getting to this. And you want to be very careful that you line them up as well. So I'm going to be joining this to this and then work my way back around. Alright? So let's do that together. But as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward process, pretty tedious, but pretty straightforward. So in essence, you don't put your edging onto your border motifs until you are ready to join them to your bigger motif, and that's it. That is it. That is all. Okay. Where am I at now? Right. So I count off 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm about to go to number 5. So I find the one that I'm going to be joining to, which is this one here, and find the 5th. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull through with a slip stitch, chain 1, and go back to my other side with a single crochet and finish off that cluster before we move to the next cluster doing the same thing, right? So you handle the work very carefully when you get to this stage, because the needle will slip off, it will go where you don't want it to go, all kinds of things, you know. Murphy's Law might kick in, so you just want to handle it carefully and keep checking and tracking as you go to make sure you haven't missed a stitch, you haven't missed a cluster accidentally. As I said before, it can happen, but you just concentrate as you go. So for this project, what I usually like to do is do all the tedious pieces first, which would be your border motifs, right? And then the bigger motifs, which are longer but easier to do because it's just one you're doing and not all 144. And then I join them, put on the edging on the bigger motifs, and then I join them. The next thing that we will have to do when we're finished with the placemats is the coasters. And then after the coasters, I will save the, so we're at the the next one. So we look again to make sure. So this is the one that we're now joining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After the coasters, the final thing will be our runners or runner. I am still weighing in my mind how I'm going to do the runners actually, which is why I'm saving them for last. Because I could do, I mean, there's no harm in doing 3 different runner sets. No harm in that at all. Right? Because just in case I end up breaking the set into 3 parts or 3 sets of 4, there's no harm in doing the 3 sets of runners, you know what I mean? And I'm going to talk about the runners in a little bit. So let me just get this down. Alright, and that's how we're looking. So I would just finish going all the way around, but you see the joining that we're putting in. So we join, so that's the 4. Alright, but you can also see, let me pull you out. Oopsie daisy. You can also see the potential for what is going to happen in terms of the size of the placemat itself. So this is at least 12 inches. I could be more, but it's at least 12 inches in diameter. So you see that this middle section, looking as small as it did, didn't really pose a problem because we had these putting on and it brought it out beautifully. So you know, if you have a nice big table, it's a nice big setting. But yeah, what I was going to say about the runners is the original design actually goes up to just 6 of the shell sections, and then they put on the treble crochet and the edging and the borders. So for the runner sets, it's not going to be 9 but 6 shell sections, and I would do them in the same orientation. So I could do one. I think this is how I could do it. I could do one with the yellow, green, black, another with the yellow, black, green, because both of them would end up with the yellow edging, and that would be one runner. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But that's one of the reasons I haven't really spoken about the runners as yet, because I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to do just one long 5-piece runner or 3 sets of the different colors to match back, if I'm going to break up the set into 3 sets of 4. Alright, but I will come back to you when off camera. I'm not going to hold you hostage. Off camera, I have put on the other borders and we finish off a placemat. Then the next set of videos will be for the coasters, and then by that time I'll maybe think about the runners and we can do the runners then. So see you when, after maybe a day or two, I have finished putting on all of these borders. And I say a day or two because I still have a few of them that I have to put the black edge onto. But yep, that's how it goes with crocheting. So see you in a bit. We are about to put on the final motif for this placemat, and as I had said before, what we're going to realize now is that we have 6 to join. So we have 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and 2 on this side. So we have to look very carefully now to ensure that we're not missing any of the petals, so to speak. Right? It's very easy at this point to get it all mixed up. Now, one of the things that I have been also saying is that I don't want these tails to be on the end of the work. So I'm going to have to start this joining somewhere either here or here if I want it to end somewhere on the inside of the work. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to start it over here. So I'm going to start with this one right here, then work my way around and join these two, join these two. It's going to get a little bit finicky as we go along, but we're here for the finickiness, right? So we grab our edging thread, which is our yellow, and remember that this edging is very simple, very straightforward, right? Pull through, single chain, and then a single crochet to anchor it. Tuck on the back here. So now, because we're joining before we complete an entire petal, I have to be very careful with my count. So remember that we're heading to the 5th of our treble stitches, and I skipped one at the beginning, so I'm definitely gonna have to count as I am going this time around to make sure that when I get to the joining, it is where I want it to be. So let's stop and do a quick count here. So we're gonna count this one that I skipped as 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're about to get to the 5th. So now I'm gonna have to grab my bigger piece, and this is the one that we're going to be joining into right here. So let me find the 5th. 1 2 3 4 5, the top of the 5th right there, and we join with a slip stitch. I'm doing it very carefully because the work has gotten so big. And then remember, after our slip stitch we chain 1, and then we come back to our single crochet and keep it going. And that's all that there is to it. Right, so we're going to do our edging stitch going all the way around, and we will be complete with one placemat. So let me just finish off this one. Remember that when we get to our bridge, we don't put a chain in between, we just single crochet on either side of the bridge and keep it going. Okay, so let me just join the second petal on this one and we'll see how it looks, and then I'll meet you back at the end. Almost there. All right, 1 2 3 4, we're ready to find the 5th. So again, we look very carefully. This is the one that we're going into now. Top of the 5th, and we slip stitch to join. Chain, chain, single crochet back into the petal. There we go. So I'm going to finish up around and meet you back when we are about to close it off. We're almost there. So I'm about to do the last 2 in here. So let's go 1 2 3 4 5. Finding it with me, seeing it. Let's keep it going. Almost there, we're on the home stretch. Let's not give up. It's like our Christian walk, we just have to persevere until the end, right? Just have to persevere. So let's keep it going. We're almost there. We're at the last bridge, I believe. No, second to last bridge. But the last petal is coming up. So let's hold strain, as we would say in Jamaica, which means to just hold on, persevere. Almost there. Joining the last petal. Let's find it. Let's find it. Almost there. Notice I said it was gonna get a little bit finicky because I'm now working into stuff I've done before, like my finger in here. So it's a little bit tight to grab and hold when you have to be twisting your fingers into things that you've done before. But that's the least of the apostles, you know what I mean? And we're at the final bridge. Alright, so let's be careful based on what we're pulling through. Those are some tails. I'm gonna snip those when I'm finished with the project. Snip and weave in what I can weave in. So let's close this off now. So let's look carefully, because we have the chain already. So we're now joining into where we started with our single crochet, and we're joining with a slip stitch and anchoring it with a chain. Snippety snip. And that's it. So bear with me, let me pull you out so you can see the entire thing. I think it can go out a little bit more. It's a beautiful day, just my kind of day. Let me just get this. All right, so there we go. There we have it. One placemat done, 11 more to go. All right, but as I said before, we're going to be doing the various combinations, but in a nutshell, that's it. How are we looking? Looking good, aren't we? So thank you for having joined me for this episode of Craft Therapy, and we're gonna keep this project going. It's a work of heart, a project of faith, because by faith I believe that they will be sold. And see you next week when we move on to another aspect of this video. But as per usual, you know we never ever end without saying, keep those hands busy so that your mind will be at peace. Happy crafting.